Tonight I would like to talk about several topics on my work, and after I'm going to show some specific examples of these arguments. But first I would like to talk very briefly, because at the end the architects really we speak with our work, but not only, but basically with our work. And but I would like to add some words at the early beginning. So the title of my lecture was Nature, City and Matter. Nature, and I would like to say something about these three topics, and also I would like also after to connect with my work. Nature, as I am interested in these three questions. The first, nature, the connection to the project, to the nature as a kind of ground surroundings. This is clear, as a landscape, as a ground of the buildings, and so on. This is clear. In a way, it's like one part of the contextual issue of the architecture. But I will go a little bit further of that. I am interested in the nature in order of noticing the archives of part of our job, in a way. So we are dealing with the earth, digging holes, for instance, or making the foundations. We are making some kind of walls are going up against the gravity law. We make roof in relationship to the water. We are connected to the air, as a ventilation thing, and so on, so on. So this kind of four topics of the pre-Socratic philosophy, the pre-Socratic philosopher, I'm trying to understand the world, and they define these four elements, the four elements of the nature as principles of the human being in the earth. Thinking about these four, so earth, water, air, and fire. These kind of questions are connected to somehow the most archaic part of our job, which I really consider is still operating into us, into our practice, and interesting to us to develop and to be conscious on this kind of ground and somehow prehistorical activity that is, on the other hand, as we know, and clearly connected to the strong contemporary issues. So in a way, nature as a kind of metaphor and methodological also basis of our activity. I will say that, and I will try to explain later with some examples of that. The second is related to the city. The city is also, as we see, is a kind of landscape in a way. No? So we are not anymore connected to the historical cities. Clear, the contemporary discussions has diffused any kind of somehow historical, mythological view of what the new has to be in relationship to the old. But in a way, in any case, the city has a certain historical fact that we are interested in dealing with in a new way. We are interested in dealing with the logic of the city also. So the logic of the lines, the voids, the urban space, the volumes, all these kind of traditional, metaphysical, or not geometrical, also laws on the city in a kind of also cultural way. This is very vague, but I will develop, I have to say. And finally, and this is probably the most clear argument that I can say to you now, is the question of the matter, the materiality of the facts, so the presence of the matter into our architectural scene, into our practice. So, in fact, architecture, in my point of view, is something that is connecting the ideas, the world of the ideas, to the world of the facts, to the world of the physical facts. So we are dealing with concepts, of course, but we're dealing with the representation, the construction of this concept with the materials, in a way. The material side of our work is not any kind of conclusion, an easy way of a natural evolution of the ideas, but it has a strong presence into the concept even. So I am very interested in developing arguments in relationship to the materiality of our things. So why from many aspects. Another important question connected to this argument of the matter, the materiality, the phenomenological aspects of the architecture. At the end, architecture is an idea, but has sensitivities connected to the senses. All the phenomenological aspects of the architecture is something that is more and more important and more appreciated for everybody, even. So it's a kind of side that in a certain moment has been a little bit lost, but now, in my opinion, is more and more important. So even in relationship to this, one argument could be regarding the materiality, this kind of connection to this dialectic in between ideas and forms. And the second is also that has to be set in relationship to the globalization. So in the globalized world, I think it's more and more important a certain dialectic in between modernity and identity. So what is identity, what is specific in a way, what is somehow local, and what is general, is a discussion that is not closed at all, and is even though, in my opinion, more open and more interesting than ever. So in this sense, materiality, the matter, is also a cultural fact connected to the culture of the places. To us, we are trying to deal with this aspect, developing and increasing something we can say like the craftsmanship side of the construction, for instance. And we are dealing with several buildings in not many, but some different countries. And the way that the building is made, the way the materials are done are intellectually and specifically discussed in order to be like a tool to anchor our things into the foreign or distant realities. This I'm going to show to you. I'm going to explain to you also this kind of materiality as a tool to anchor the buildings into the new globalized scene. These are some images of these Earth connections. There are some briefly. We just finished a book on these arguments at the school at the ETSAB, connected to this the power of the four elements. Now the Earth, yes, activities, as is also connected to the art, the land art, for instance, and many other activities, but we do that at the end. So at the end, our first activity when we enter in a place, when we produce a building. I am a builder also, basically. I am basically a builder. So it's just introducing this kind of interventions that the art also, and this in a way could be a work of art. We're in the air also. The air as a kind of diffuse and another layer that is around us, and our buildings are dealing with, and the water as something that has no form and is connected to the form that the reservoir, and this kind of fluidity of the material, and this kind of need of protection also, like the roof, as I said, no? The fire, and so and the craftsmanship. But the craftsmanship is also a question that is a very interesting idea, that is the way that you connect your hands and your mind, where the mind and the hands are connected. In a way, it's something connected, what I wanted to say, that the idea and the matters are connected. They are not two somehow dialectically opposite, but somehow more in a mandala way. They are two sides of the same thing. So this is the hands and the mind connected in the craftsmanship system. I'm going to show 6 or 7 buildings. All of them are finished, 6 or 5, so finished in the last 3 years. Time, and the last is not finished, it's under construction. So I will show some images of the construction. So this is the Filmoteca, Catalan Filmoteca in the Old Town. This is one of the examples of the Old Town history, the town, the city problems. This is, in this case, is the Old Town Barcelona. The Old Town Barcelona, you can imagine we are used all in our culture to look at the fragments of the things, but here you can discover, for instance, the new openings from the 19th century, that they're like openings. This is the old walls trace, the Cardos and the Cumanus, and the square in the middle. The walls, the initial walls were here, the second walls were here, and after that the ensanche with all the grid, fantastic grid in the Barcelona. In fact, Barcelona has a certain quality, a big quality in some moments, in my opinion, by this ensanche that was able to generate the modernity of the 19th and 20th centuries in this kind of into this grid. So, in our case, we were connected to a project building a new building into the old town. Then the old town has many parts, but this is, you see the walls, and this is the historical part. This was more poor, more devastated, more really. This is not so. The monuments were here. Basically, it was a little bit out of the walls, and after the walls involved, but they were just the monasteries and hospitals and things like that. So it's poor architecture. Huh? And now with a lot of sociological and historically the center of the prostitution, for instance, and things like that, no? Depressed and so on. So our project has to be a new cultural equipment into this kind of old town, especially into this area. And when I was talking on the historicity of the project, I want to talk, so this is the plan, in a way, you see the density. This part is so dense as Hong Kong. It's a very small streets, very high, the buildings are like a big mass with small holes in between, sometimes bigger, but normally very small. So yeah, we see all this kind of mass. This is the wall, as I explained to you, the Cardos, the Cuman, and so on, these kind of traces. And we are there in the old town. And we had to build a new building. So ideas on the, I want to explain to you somehow ideas, history, but to me history is something connected to the culture, and the culture is connected to our job, and in a way the culture of the past. So the ideas how to intervene into the area from the last century has been connected to three moments. One was connected to the 20s. The 20s. So this is a picture of this area, of the area when I built. The building is somewhere here, and it was by the group, the rationalist group of the Catalan, somehow Le Corbusier, modern people. That was they edited a magazine named AC. Architettura contemporánea, contemporary architecture, and the analysis of this problem was in relationship to the health, to the bad hygienical condition, bad life conditions, and into that, of course, they proposed to demolish big parts of the area and to produce new buildings. In fact, they could build one. This was into a kind of advertisement program. This very nice image. Proving that it was a big tuberculosis, big quantity of people that had tuberculosis into this area. This is a picture explaining that these young people are almost dead in this kind of bad conditions. They got even the commission. Architecture are always very practical in a way and somehow political. This group, that was Josep Lluís said, for instance, that was after a dean of the Harvard School of Architecture in the 50s, and some other young people. They got the commission to build up an hospital for against the tuberculosis in the 30s. So this is a project, a building that appeared like that. So it's a kind of building somehow in the middle of the mass in the Le Corbusier language, in the kind of somehow floating building, and nicely done. It's still like that. It's very nicely done, but it's a kind of alien that appeared there into this kind of fabric. A second moment of that, they were the bombing into in fact, the acting into the area has been like bombing. So putting buildings down. This is bombing in the 30s. In the Civil War, and in fact, my plot was one of these bombings. So one of the result of the bombing. So it seems that the only clear attitude was to demolish in a way. And after the result, was or this Le Corbusier thing, well, let's say Le Corbusier school, or even more dramatic, a new Le Corbusier 50 years later. So this is in the 80s, a new eclectic, manieristic version of Le Corbusier that appears 100 meters away from the other Le Corbusier school. So this is a second moment how the architecture could be implemented, because after the destruction you must build in a way. So first you destroyed the thing, and after you build. So the second way of building was some kind of manieristic objects, somehow artistical objects into that. A third moment into that is more like a Dubai effect. Is just putting all these buildings are, let's say, 100 meters away from one to the other. So and very near from my place. So the other moment is a kind of round tower with a filter. Yeah, that could be somewhere a little bit higher, maybe 10 times higher. It could be somewhere in the wall. It's a kind of a small, like a child version of a standard in a way. Anyway, so this was my situation, and the second moment. So this is the picture of the AC defending on the modern people. Defending, you see the calligraphy, the typography was the Le Corbusier letters, also from the 30s, and this kind of stamp. Anyway, so they defend this kind of opening and putting these objects there. But in fact, what I was interested was not in the object, but was in this kind of mass here. So what I thought it was really the specificity of the place, something that I will try to follow. Was not these standing objects in the void, but trying to build something more connected to the big mass with holes, basically. So having like an enormous building with having this mass consistence with openings of different sizes into that. So I was most interested in the mass. One question. The same thing when you see the city is like that, so it's like a kasbah, basically a kasbah, but a vertical kasbah with 6 floors high, no? So I was interested in this kasbah, basically. So how to use, instead of having like a freestanding building in the middle of nowhere, of the void. The second moment I was very interesting, and this is when I come to my argument of the materiality as a starting moment of the project. It was of how I can say that is what I wanted to do is a building, because here you see this is our plot when I was starting the foundation. So you see what you see. So you have the foundations on the walls, foundations. You have the buildings. They are also just walls. And what I wanted to do is just a wall. So just continuing the logic of the wall. Making a building that was only a wall, so made by a wall. So the materiality of the thing came as a conceptual part of the thing. So how to do something that was a mass, there was one part of the point, and so what to do something that was basically a wall. A wall, as you see, because these buildings are a wall with this kind of windows, very poor and very damaged. Sometimes they have some kind of filters. It's the only thing I wanted. They wanted to make a wall in itself powerful enough, and maybe in case using some kind of filters. So that was the problem. I was even my memory of the place was made by the walls, by the memory of the place, by the remaining walls after the destruction. The place is basically is like Beirut. It's is more and more destruction, and you notice the life, the former life into this kind of walls that appear into the city. So the wall and the massive thing. So now I'm going to explain the project basically. So there were the background, the ideas, and the questions. So into my area. So my area was here. This was a bomb. So it was a void. Here there was another bomb because it was totally demolished a little bit later when I was acting. So this was a competition I put in a shadow because I was not very excited by this present, but they really demolished everything. The round tower is here, by the way. So, and I am here. So the building is, at the end, is something, and I go to the building because the building had other kind of conditions. This is a filmotheque. The filmotheque is like the film museum. The film museum has two film halls, or film halls with 1,000 people. No, one from 400 and the other 200 people, spectators. They are underground. Here, there is an underground part, basically with the films sector and the storage and archives and things like that. And there is another emerging part. I did that in order for two reasons. In order to make something like a building that was a little bit lower than the others, in order to be not to be so destructive of the, not so destructive, so aggressive towards the conditions of the street. So it's a little bit lower, so it's going to have more light into the street, the existing street. And also in order to separate the two walls of the building. One is one wall is with no light, is with the shadows, with the images reflected by the screen, and the other is a place with a library and an exhibition hall and working spaces and so on. Something connected to the day in a way, something connected to the night, something connected to the light, something not connected to the shadows. After that, the big mass. This is a big mass with 25 meters depth, with a system of halls, a small hall. This is a hall going from the top, going down. This is another hall going down. You enter by here, you go down towards the cinemas, or you go up towards the rest, but it's not connected, this kind of like a chimney. There's another hall here in order to get some light here, and this is glass, so you can go light under that. So it's a kind of big mass with holes, basically, as I pretended. The big mass is put in the near of the street, next to the street, and has a certain, is 25 meters depth, and has a certain, this rectangular, has a certain difference in between the two sides. This side is more somehow broken and connected to the small scale of the street. The other is more open. The other is making like a corner, an open corner, in between this, down the four corners. This is a name, four corners, las cuatro esquinas, the four corners. There was missed one. It's a center of drug and prostitution, also was atypical. And so the building is just somehow making a void corner. So you are there and you are protected, but it's a void corner. So the building is making something like that. It's basically another argument. Has to be part of the square. The square is outside, so and you cross. It's like the Lina Bobardi São Paulo museum that is suspended, and you have the pavement from one side to the other is continuing. So this is the big hall. This is the outside. This is the outside. So the outside and the inside and the ground floor are connected. And yeah, this is on the competition level. That was the idea. So having like a building that was somehow floating, so you can cross from one side to the other, and it was somehow floating from in the air, and connecting. So, and I go to the wall, because the wall, as I said, it was my principle, my intention. So the building is in structural terms, in technical terms, it's just made by two walls. So this is one wall, 25 meters, concrete walls. From these walls we have a beam, post-stress beam from here to there and from here to there. From here we have tensors that hang this floor. These tensors hang this floor. In this floor you have no pillar at all. In this floor you have no pillar at all. So it's a kind of floating building from here and from here. The cinemas are outside, and this is so it's easy to integrate in this kind of structural order. And the whole the plants, as you see, there are just two walls, the stairs, and the structure, this kind of big beams transformed into tensors. So the cinemas in the underground, and this kind of two walls that organize the whole thing. There are no pillars in the middle. So this is, you see a little bit the complexity, the beams, the tensors, and they support this hall and the other hall and so on. But we are going to see later. The whole facade is a structure in a way. So the whole facade is a beam or a pillar. So the whole facade, for instance, this is the pillar, this is the pillar, this is the whole facade, and this is a big cantilever because you have the whole height for being, and this is the whole floor is a beam, so you don't have any pillar, you don't have any pillar here, you have there. These are the deformations. They are made by the engineers. These plans, they are made by the engineers. So the deformations and so on, and the whole facades are these kind of walls with post-stress, with all this steel into that. There are post-stress after that. You see all here. You see all the beams, also post-stress with all the final moments when you put you press the steel. And in fact, it's what they wanted. To have a facade that was only connected to the logic of the structure. And at the end, for instance, you see. This is a film made because we have some problems into this kind of holes, and we had to control where was the problem. No? So, sorry. So here you see a little bit more the idea of this kind of walls, and the place was an architectural field in parallel with a construction field. So it was a construction in between the archaeologues, the archaeological part, and the archaeologues and the earth movements also. That were also, when I was talking on the earth, I was talking on my experience here also. I was talking on the earth moving and the act and the earth present as a reservoir of the architecture and on the remains from the past. For instance, these were the archaeologues and even the remains they found the archaeologues. They were like the structures also, the structure of the bodies. So in a way, I thought that my idea just transformed the project, the building, purely a skeleton, was connected to this kind of historicity of the place. So the building is something like that at the end. So this concrete thing, these lines that somehow ornament the thing, they are the remembrance of the main steel that is inside. These are the presence of the beams. They are there. So the beams are here. You support the corner is made by the two beams, one beam there, one beam the other side. And you see a little bit the front that is more supporting. This is a very nice bar they have made in a very, let's say, in a very special way, but I like very much. I haven't done. It's like a subproducts of with all furniture and everything like that. And it's very well fitting with the building and with the area. I have to say it has been very well accepted by everybody, by the prostitution, by everybody, by the heavy atmosphere that is surrounded. So we have this, and this the other one, and we started to look at something that is also very important. They are the filters of the thing. So you see all the marks. This is the post-stress of the beams. This is the presence of the bars. So you see, this is the big opening here, the entrance and the big entrance space. And the other important thing, they are the filters into this mass. Like in these buildings, they have like filters, these sound protections and this kind of screen that is protecting the views from the inside and the outside. It's also a metaphor of the screen. It's a screen with more density. They project at night films. So it's a kind of screen somehow destroyed, or that the density is disappearing, and it's made in aluminium or no, in inox, like in a textile way, you know. So it's like a textile with a steel, with all this made by a factory nearby, and a former factory, a textile factory, doing the thing as it was fabrics. So the result is something like that. The most density, the less density from the inside. You see like that. You see the big reality, but with a certain filter, with a certain nuance. So Yeah, and this is the corner, the fourth corner, the open corner here. This is here, the offices are the place. You see also the corner. The corner is made by the two geometries. One is geometry of the beams, the other is the other geometry. No? And the inside of this, we are very close to the other side. And there is like another screen, another filter that we designed in relationship to the holes that they are in the other side. So it's a kind of, we had the other facade, and we made a filter. So the density of the filter was in relationship to the other side facade. As you see like that. The last filter was in the other street. This nearby the street is in this case. It's not in inox, it's not in corten like the other two. This is in a golden material in order to be more light, reflecting the light. And we use the former images from the first moment of the film they produce, and we use one of the first images of the first films in order to produce this kind of surface. Some images from the inside, the hall is just a kind of empty space in continuity with the space. From here you go up or you go down. Yeah, this is when you go up, you go to the light, to the sun, to the public areas. There is an exhibition hall, a library, and things like that, or offices. Yeah, with light. This is the second court, the second small court with the light and the other possibility of having light there. And after that we have some filters using the colors and the textures of the filters in the photography for making the divisions inside the space, like here. And so this is like this kind of filters you put into the camera. So. And after that you go down. When you go down to the cinemas, you are reflected by the mirrors. So you are becoming like a protagonist of the scene because you see yourself entering into the places, like in this kind of red carpets in Los Angeles by the Oscar and things like that. So you are being like as a publicum, but you are also protagonist on the scene. This is also mirror there, and so after you go there are the two. This is the two halls. Some images, still some images, the space under the building in this kind of fourth void corner, or the presence of the old things, the filters. Let's say the wall and the filters and the building that is there. After that, I'm going to go very quickly to two projects that ended a little bit later last year. That used to one of the two arguments of that. One is the filter idea, the other is the structure idea. This is the filter idea from the connecting inside and outside. This is in Barcelona. It's a very small commission, a very small project nearby the diagonal, in a very central place, in a small passage. These very nice places, and so into the order there are also some kind of passages, small roads. No? So this is here, and basically what I'm going to show to you, the plan is absolutely there are small apartments, 4 small apartments. It's very small. The project we enter by here. So this is a kind of opening, sliding door, so you can have the whole facade, let's say, vision, space. From here you have the whole dimension of the thing, and from here also. This is the street, and the street, the whole thing is something like that. The street is something like that. We put this kind of a screen. There's a small terrace with plants, could be eventually plants. This also can move, so somehow, maybe. So you see the whole thing can move in relationship to what is happening. Can move, can be open, can be everything open, can be, so you can really have a more or less protected conditions. So. Okay. Okay, copyright. Para. Okay, so this is the filter movement in relationship to the use of the thing. The second is just a structure. Is a building in Paris. This is the fair tour, the Boulogne. This is Boulogne, the La Ile-Sagan. This is a new district, and the building is here. We were invited to this is here. We were invited to participate in a competition to reorganize or to propose this block. It's an urban block. The urban block had to be made by independent pieces, by different contractors, different developers. So we proposed a building like that. That is the office building with us. Practically, there were some pieces. One in the corner, very important. The other, and having like a big openings in order to introduce the air and the light into the center of the thing. It's making like a protected periphery, but also with a certain outside connection. The inside is a nice garden. It's a very small but very nice garden. It has to be a very nice garden. It's made by a French couple of very young landscapers. And we build this. This is the building is in relationship. This is a small part with the air and the opening. This is a building that is also having like a folding in order to make a big hole in order to protect you and follow you and direct you towards the center of the garden, towards the garden inside. No? So this is the facade that is moving. The only thing that the facade is structural, so the facade is in concrete, it's structural, so the whole thing is structural, and we did all this again, a kind of attempt to define the form. This is a second moment. I was interested some years ago to define the facade by scientific reasons, not by purely compositional reasons. So, and this is the second moment to try to develop a facade, because it's a big hole here to enter, and they were engineering things. So because it's a big mass of concrete, structural, so you need more concrete here and less here. No? So you can have bigger openings here and smaller openings here. It's an office building. It's an office building. So you see the construction of the thing, and this is a structural, which is quite very interesting, intriguing, how to build this kind of moving things in being solid, not being purely structural. The thing after that, it was clad with 20 centimeters isolation and so on. So you see this kind of movement like that. This kind of movement as you go under the building, you enter. This is the line of the street. You enter there is the garden. This is the garden. On the left side, you have some kind of facilities, the entrance and so on. They have another kind of facilities, very poorly done, but very somehow they want to have a certain expression. And the inside is a very nice garden. I said it's a garden that you cannot go; you just can see. So it's a big trees, very precious flowers. But you just move outside. It's like having a treasure, or an animal, a lion, or something like that. So you don't go. The children, they don't go to the park. The park is really like a bonsai, like a special piece. And it's very well done, very attractive, in my opinion. Anyway, some insights. And from the night, you see a little bit the composition and the folding moment and the passage toward the garden. The other project, the other building I'm going to show to you is the project in Castelo Branco. Castelo Branco is a city in Portugal, and last year, exactly 1 year ago, we finished. It was a long intervention. We finished the most important one. That was the cultural center in the city. This is a topographical problem. This is the center of the city. We were commissioned 10 years ago for making the plan or proposal, the urban plan, the urban design of the center of the town. That is, this one is an enormous void here with the former barracks of the army, of the Portuguese army, against the Spanish, by the way, because they are not so far away. And this is a mountain. Castelo Branco is a white castle. Means the castle is here. It's going down, and after you go a little bit high, so it's a kind of valley, no? So, and we have to organize the big square here, with a special section, and after design a building that is completing the all existing factories, barracks, the army, military. In the plan, we propose to make a building here that is next to a wall, to a retaining wall that is made by a Portuguese architect from the area, which is also very nice. Also, this project there. So the whole thing was. So you see the thing we did. So you see the going down from the castle, the square, and the building, and the library again on the end, and up the other square in the top. The urban plan, the design, not the urban plan, the design of the square is something like that. You have an enormous esplanade, an enormous space. There is a parking also. There is a parking here underground. So you enter by here, and there is also an underground passage from here, so there is no traffic. So it's an enormous esplanade. The enormous esplanade had a center from the water. I'm going to explain it with the water. So this is the upper level. This is a kind of a step you are going to see. The esplanade has to be mineral because we have all the parking. We introduce some kind of grass and plants. This is no parking. This is more green into this kind of border. And the building is in this kind of corner, ending this figure. And it was important to let the passage going through the whole area and ending in a big park that was here. Here is a park because there is earth, it's real earth. Yes, you see a little bit the thing. So the whole area is having an enormous reservoir. All the water of the surface of the square is going to the center. So it's going to provoke a lake in relationship to the raining periods. It's a lake there. So the pavement is here. This is the upper moment with some pavilion and it's here the pavilion, and you go. This is at the level of the city. You go down, and this is the big square. This is a canopy, a pergola protecting a little bit from the street. This is a small restaurant in the next to the slope of the green, and this is the building of the cultural center. So the whole thing is something like that. This portico area, we arrive from the castello, and this is the promenade. You go down. There are shops there. It's very used. Has been an enormous success in terms of public, in terms of activities and so on. Here all the things. There is this small pavilion also. The green is there. From here, this is the canopy and the water. This part of the square is always full of water in a way. It's just wet. It's a wet area of the thing. For making the pavement of the thing was a big challenge to me, and again the materiality, and again the contextual, and again the local thing. It was really interesting, and at the end we worked with the Portuguese people doing with the pavements. That they are fantastic. We proposed many things. We were always wrong, and at the end we made something with different textures of the stones, with using the big possibilities of expressive structure, possibilities of the local construction. So this is the center of the square, and so we add more water. In summer there is more water appearing, so producing more wet areas. This is this canopy. Just marking the end, the shops. So this is in the summer that the whole thing is with water. The water present is there. This is the building we did. This is a drawing made by the children of the schools of the Castelo Branco. That they, I don't know why, they had the commission of drawing the project, the plans and the models, and they define like that. That is really like that. It's a building supported by two legs. is open with a skating space with frozen water at the end. The idea of water, having water, but also frozen water under the building. So and also the two legs, and the building is suspended, and this is really like that. The building is really like that. So you have this building you went from the square, you go down. So and after this kind of form. Or, of course, in the ground floor, you have this skating space with the people skating and so on, and the light at night, and the whole thing is something like that with an exhibition area and a small auditorium here. So from here you enter under, there's a big space. From here you cross the two pillars, they are the elevators and the stairs, and after you arrive into this space. No? So this is the plan of the underground, let's say partially underground, because by here it's open. So you enter by here by the ramp, there is a control, and there is an exhibition area. From here you can go up by here or by here, by the elevators or by here. This is more the services, is more the principal. After you cross the skating piste here, you cross by here, by the laterals, by there. This is also there are some places to be sit, and this is the forest. And after that, you go to this exhibition. There is also a ramp inside. You're going to see, and you go up, and there is the auditorium, a small auditorium, with all the changing rooms, more connected to these things. This form, this final form here, is somehow connected. It's a kind of replica. There are the old building, a void, and the whole thing is somehow offering a reaction in front of each one. No? This is more against the void, the action, and this is relating to that. Huh? The whole thing is in sync. It's a kind of envelope in sync. This is the model. So the whole building is something like that. The ramp is also in relationship to the movement of the floor. This is the more part of the exhibition. This is the auditorium, and the whole thing is this sync around the whole figure. Well, the structure, in a way, the pillars, and in this case this is the library that was at the end, no? The library on the earth. So the building, the two pillars are like capes. They are in concrete. We put a certain, not a painting, it's a special product for the concrete that keep the concrete but gives a certain color. In one case is black and the other is red. We put the lights. We try to make a kind of Pyrenean aspect of the space. We go down into this, and we go down. It's the same. We see there's the painting room. Okay. So this is the space in the top. Here you see a little bit the fact of the water and the ice. This kind of sequence of the water and after the ice. And the canopy. The canopy has a kind of multiple legs because it's looking for the structure of the parking. So it's all the times the structure of the parking has another logic, and our structure is a kind of like a 100 legs animal, no? That is trying to have a certain support somewhere. This was the opening exactly 1 year ago. It was fantastic. The whole city there. It was an exhibition of Latin American contemporary art. So this is the father of Mata Clark, the artist that cut the buildings in New York. The father was an artist also. It was a replica of one Monet, a very important Monet painting. Here is this kind of opening going down. This is another huge. When you go up to this a small cafeteria. And you go up and you see there's a small auditorium. It's totally black and just have a certain color at the end. And the thing. And this is many of the thing that happens there. But we made a video which is quite just recording this kind of presence of the building in the middle of the city, with all the people skating. This is they have a kind of music group that they perform the city hymn, the song of the city. So Castelo Branco song. So and there were all the people looking at the thing. Maybe we can the people from the stairs, the red stairs. Okay. Okay, I pass through. Another one, I'm going to show two or three more, two and one building site. So that we at the end is only two, 2.5. This is another building finished 2 years ago in Prague, in the capital of the Czech Republic. And this is the entrance of the National Gallery. The National Gallery is the national museum of the country that is in this series of all palace. This is one palace. This is another palace. This is another building in between both. This is another palace here. The whole thing is the National Gallery. The National Gallery, the Prague National Gallery. And we won the competition and we built the entrance because they need to have a moment that you could enter in the whole sequence of buildings. Huh? And this was the pavilion of entrance that is here using a former court that was in between the buildings. So it was a former, it was even like a former green area, with a tree and so on. So it's a court, but a cultivated court into the area. So as you know, probably in Prague, the whole castle was remade or retouched by a very important and interesting architect of the 20s. That was Plečnik, Josef Plečnik. Josef Plečnik was another kind of these things, history of the places, so which I like and I like to use. So in fact, when we won the competition, we received a phone call. I received a phone call. I said, "Well, you are going to be the first foreign architect that is allowed to touch our monuments after Plečnik." So, well, it's a big responsibility. It's a big responsibility. And Plečnik had made a lot of interventions like that, with very intelligent somehow logic, and also with a high quality of the materials on the ornamental side of the thing. This is he did here the pavement of the square. It's nearby. It's 100 meters from my project, and he made, for instance, probably he put this sculpture, but also the fence around the sculpture is fundamental. The poles of the flags, they are fundamental. So there are all these kind of furniture connection. It's very clever also, very structural also, but very detailed, very ornamental, very detailed, very superficial, but this is not superficial, but the strong power of the surface. So I didn't want to do that, basically, so it's what I'm trying to say, even appreciating a lot the former thing. This is my plot, so the castles, or the places, with the wall here. Okay, the wall here, I am after the wall. So the project is only, this is the most schematic, but it's like that. So this is the wall. And after, what I did is two things, basically. It's generating a space in between two surfaces. One is the roof, that is this one. This roof is horizontal and is a system of 3 beams. One beam is up, the other is down, and the other is flat. So that changed a little bit the quality of the pillars, because this flat has a special pillar. This under is organizing really the space because it's appearing as a fragment into the space, and the other is not appearing into the space. So this is the one thing is the roof. The other is the floor. The floor was very complicated because it's a topography that has to connect many other levels. But I was fighting and struggling to even into this complexity to make very abstract and very somehow simple in a way. No? So this is the place, so this is the thing. We put this kind of beams. These beams were like that. They are hard to pillar here. They just touch in one point here. This is the beam under. It's a little bit, so we made this, maybe you see here. So this is the roof with the beam upper, and some moments you have light coming from above the roof here. There is also a kind of court in order basically to introduce the light closer to the entrance. This is the entrance. You have light from the top, but after you have light because the facade is here, and also it's a frozen garden in the winter. So this is the roof and the light coming there. And the plan is something like that. You see the pillars, the special pillars with a flat beam, the normal pillars with the vertical under, the flat pillars with the up. We have and the surfaces are geometrically very controlled. It's a little bit moving up after the other. In fact, it's an attempt to make to get to all the complexity with a regular surfaces. This center is connected to the ticketing and this kind of things. It's a little bit different. They change the color of the stone. And here you see a little bit the logic of the thing. So the three beams, this moving up, that is making like a ramp, and after is a step here, moving a ramp like there and going down, and this court and so on. So one important thing was made, and this is also when I said the materiality in relationship to the culture of the place, I was thinking also in a project like that. So the materiality, I wanted to make it in wood. But I discovered that the local culture was steel. They produce cars, they produce machines. And I found fantastic people doing these things, and I changed everything. All the expression is in steel, so which is by far more abstract and by far with unbelievable detailing and unbelievable sensitivity on the every corner. So the thing is like that. So the corner, this is one piece of inox, which is unbelievably done. It's a kind of sculpture. So from here there is a translucent wall for the storage, which is also with a minimum supports and all these things. You see all the surroundings around that. All the walls are the existing walls, and you have some moments with more light moments from the doors or from there in relationship to the openings on the ceiling. And this is the special pillar we connected to the beam. This is down to organize the entrance in order to. This is horizontal in order to allow you to have the view towards the outside. This is a small garden with just white stone that is reflecting the light. This is the continuity of you see the light is somehow focusing some points, like here. Here, in order not to destroy the geometry, this necessary bigger dimension I add with another material. So this is like an expansion of the other in glass and steel. There are things appearing from the old times, like an arch and a vault that are present, and all the detailing that I said before. All the detailing that are simply fantastic, basically. So, and this is not my responsibility, but their responsibility, basically, also. Yeah, I'm going to the end. Just I'm going to have this project is a housing project, and last year also in France. In France, that is interesting to point out the site. Is in the periphery of Toulouse, the French city of Toulouse, and it has two neighborhoods. One is the Flughafen, the airport. That is this one. So this airport that generated this kind of geometry, and the other this river, the La Garonne, with all this kind of form, with all the. This is a fantastic microclimate, and it's in between the macroclimate of the river and the climate of the new technology of the airport. The airport is very important. Also, the Toulouse airport. They assemble here make the assemblage of the Airbus. This is produced in many parts of Europe, but is assemblage there into the and this project is in between these two moments. So yeah, it's a housing project, a mid-housing project, not a very luxurious one. It's a mid-housing. And in a typical urban plan, a French urban plan that is in between a block but an open block. So we proposed and we won the competition, and after we built, making this kind of sequence of buildings. One building is building nearby the entrance of the entrance of the whole complex. Is this kind of, has this kind of profile. The other is ending the complex in a low way. And this is this kind of the other, the white color. And the other two buildings, one is making the corner. It has a very special tectonical and volumetrical shape, just expressing the moment of the corner. And the other is in the middle that has a certain movement and try to somehow reflect and not being really an obstacle of that. The presence of that made that this block is also cut, excavated a little bit, and projected towards the street, in order to have more dimension in relationship one to the other. Another important thing is the garden. The garden. We want to imagine the thing in between a geometry and the river. So this idea of the river and the airport was always there. So of course the garden was connected to the river, so it has to be connected to the river. So yeah, and after that, yeah, you see the sequence of that from the rear. This is we have four buildings basically. The thing started. The interesting thing started. Again, I go to the materiality and the cultural questions of the materiality. Toulouse, in my remembrance, is not far away from Barcelona. In fact, it was one of the capitals of the against Franco people, so exiled people, so it was a kind of place. No? It was named La Ville Rouge, the Red City. I thought it was for political reasons, but it was not for political reasons. It was it was because it was built in brick. So the whole city, the whole old city, was red. So it was the Red City because it was in brick. So after this thing, and it's like that. So it's tiles, but also the facades are in brick. And my first decision, well, I am in the Red City, and I'm going to do in brick. Of course, the postmodernism in the 60s, 70s proved that it's impossible to do anything in brick, and now, in fact, it's impossible to do anything in brick. So there are not more bricks, even no more red bricks. So the question was a little bit more complicated. How to do? I start like that in the Red City bricks, but impossibility of the bricks. And after that, we start thinking in making. Even though because the housing had a lack of material, let's say, quality, such a strong lack of material quality in France, in many countries, after the industrialization and all these things, the quality of the things are so poor that we try to make an experiment to increase the expressivity of everything, so expressivity of every building. For instance, this building is going to be, we said, well, this is, the rear is like ending, it has to be a light ending, a weak ending, is going to be in wood. And the other three, they are in brick, but these bricks, every one has a different quality. One is more black, because it's connected to the asphalt of the street. This is more white because it's in the middle, has to reflect. And the other is in the middle, is 50-50. And after that, they start a very crazy way. And this is a film with craftsmanship. The craftsmanship. Maybe you can have a certain. ¿Es posible fare un po' più alto? Sí, prego. Hey, prego.
Parce que mon grand-père faisait ça, mon père aussi. Et moi, je suis la troisième génération. Et nous, pour nous, réaliser ce type d'ouvrage-là, c'est quelque chose qui fait partie de notre vie, quoi, et qui restera gravé à jamais, parce que ce sont des bâtiments qui sortent de l'ordinaire, où vraiment on peut accomplir et démontrer notre savoir. J'essaie de transmettre cette philosophie, cette qualité de travail à toutes nos équipes. Enfin, ici, on est devant un mur type de ce chantier-là, à savoir que de part et d'autre du mur, ce sont des briques, des mulots qui sont posés comme ça et qui font 5 cm de largeur. Ça, c'est du mouche arabier. Pour réaliser ce type de mouche arabier, on utilise cette brique-là. Voilà les deux types de produits posés à noir et blanc. Sur la complexité de l'ouvrage en lui-même, donc ce type de briques, de mulots, donc sur Toulouse, c'est beaucoup fait, en rouge, il y a une quinzaine d'années. Donc la technique de pose en elle-même n'est pas complexe par rapport à ce qu'il y avait à réaliser. La seule complexité qui était très importante, c'était le calepinage à respecter. Avec toutes les briques mulots à leur place. Donc on a tracé toutes les rangées de briques horizontales et verticales. Donc si vous voulez, sur tout le mur, sur toute la surface en béton, tous les rangs étaient tracés et chaque brique était dessinée. Donc là où il y avait une brique noire, on faisait simplement une croix. Aussi technique et poussé que ce soit, on en revient toujours, parce qu'au bout, il y a un homme avec ses mains. Donc pour nous, réaliser ce type de chantier-là complexe, pour nous, c'est un véritable régal. C'est un challenge à relever, mais c'est aussi un accomplissement. Je sais pourquoi on existe et pourquoi on travaille. J'ai eu 2 coups de téléphone qui me disaient « Mais pourquoi Pascal tu fais ça ?» Et j'ai dit « Parce que je respecte le dessin de l'architecte. » Et les deux m'ont répondu « Mais l'architecte il est fou !» Mais là j'ai dit « Il est pas fou, il a une idée de ce qu'il veut et on est là pour la réaliser. » Donc c'est pas impossible puisqu'on arrive à le réaliser. Et je pense que le résultat, puisque je suis pas au bâtiment C, c'est vrai que le bâtiment est quand même sort du commun, puisque quand on regarde ces façades, donc je viens depuis maintenant 3 ou 4 mois, ces façades ne sont jamais les mêmes, parce qu'on a l'impression que ça vit, quoi, parce que chaque fois que tu la regardes, tu découvres quelque chose de différent.
Well, now I show some images, of the thing. So this is the building in the corner. This is 50-50, 50 white, 50 black. So this is, and also what is interesting is the relation between the volume and the surface. The volume is quite fragmented and make all the movements around the corner, but with the quality of the surface, this kind of movement disappears somehow. So it's a kind of tension in between the volume and the surface, which sometimes is very exciting. So this is a structure in concrete. This is only outside as a finishing. Sometimes, not always. Here is concrete. That is protected concrete. So this is a 50 per 50. This is the white thing. This is a pier in the wood. And this is the garden. The garden that was literally a kind of representation in a miniature way, the river conditions in a little bit after that. So all the gravel, earth, sun, woods, trees, plants, of course in a certain organization, but the game was to reproduce all the river delta, all this kind of meander of the river, which has all the water and the earth and so on, to reproduce inside. So this is the wooden thing, so the white thing, the black at the end, because it was a structure and in order to be cheaper I just painted black the concrete because it was the cheapest way of doing. This is the roof. And then it's a little bit of the delirious of material. So this is a roof that is sank and is continuing down in order to reflect the light towards inside also. So it was in order to destroy somehow the opacity of this middle volume in the middle of the area. So this is the way of closing the rooms, the band rooms, are in relationship to the continuity of the wall. This is one window with that closed, and when you open, it appears the window. No? But at the end, the wall is still there. It's always there, as you see there. So this the window is here. When you open, you have something like that. The presence of the garden. Yeah, the black. Everything has to be like that. But after, as I said, for economical reason, we accept and decide also just to keep the concrete at bad painting. This is only the remaining of the original color of the concrete, these kind of pieces, because basically after that is painted. This is the wooden thing, the wooden part. At the end, there is this kind of wall that is a kind of light weak wall closing the whole thing. And this is the complex. And my last thing it's a project under construction. Until now, I explained buildings that has been built in the last 3 years, and now it's something we are building now, so it's not built. So yet, and I will show something in relationship to also this argument materiality and concepts and things like that, and also the process, because at the end construction is a part of the process. It's a process in itself. It's not only a tramit. It's not a tramit. It's a process also. So this is a project we won also in France several years ago. It's a very important project. Basically, it's very big also. In the city of Bayonne. Bayonne is nearby Biarritz, nearby the San Sebastian, the Spanish border. And this is at the entrance. This is a bridge. Well, it's a bridge, and the entrance of the city is here. And after this, the old town is here. This is a Plaza de Toros. The Spanish, even in France, but they have this. This is the river Adour. And these are drawings from the competition. So we proposed both sides of this entrance 3 things. One is remodeling the whole entrance of the bridge, so to reorganize the traffic in order to generate a park. We are going to see later how it is done. So one part of the plan is the reorganization of the infrastructure going to the bridge that was already there. So one thing, there is one. The initial project was the whole thing. After we got the commission to build this, as we are going to see, this kind of heavy, massive thing. It's in a city. We changed the dimensions, and we introduced a big park here, in relationship to the big entrance. So it's a big park here, and after this is going to be a park, and after this is another part of the project in the other side. Here there is a high building. And this is going to be the end of the perspective we're going to see. Now we are building these 3 parts. This is almost finished. This is this is starting, and this is without the trees, which is it's at the end. The infrastructure is changed, but the trees are not there. So you see the green. The whole thing changing the conditions, the green appearing, and this is one, and the other thing. This is not done. This is the press stop here. This is not. It's not even developed. The river is here. This is north. This is south. This is north. So, exactly. This is north, south, east, west. So the construction, as I said, these are pictures from last month or several months ago. So the construction is not a tramit, is what I'm trying to. And this project I'm going to explain basically the construction, not really, not much more a little bit the concept, but not much more so for instance, this is a building made in everything in concrete, but by pragmatical reasons, and not by my interest. So in France, in these kind of things. Concrete is very used, even if the concrete has not to be exposed, and they don't want to be exposed even because they don't like it. But the whole thing is in concrete. So, for instance, this is some parts of the area which I like very much, with the lines of the pavement, all the traces of the water coming from the concrete, the lines, and also this kind of the ground floor is enormous. It's going to be a big supermarket. And now it's like a space for a museum. Basically, it's like a structure with big beams and nothing, even very dirty, but it doesn't matter. And pipes, but it doesn't matter. So, concrete and everything. So this is again the tower here, and this is what we're going to do. This was developed This is the entrance. This one. This is the presence of the park, the tower that is here, and the other part, and this is the big part of the building that is almost finished now, or is undergoing to be finished. The figure is a figure that is enormously dense, with a lot of complexity how to manage all the pieces. But this is a building which has starting with 4 floors, ending in 8 floors, going down here. From here you go is the opposite. It has a building inside very special, with course and course here. The south is here, the course here and so on. The building has these 2 in the first floor, because the ground floor is one space from a big shopping center. There are 2 big gardens from the whole complex of houses. Here, this is a kind of continuity from that. This is a building, and there are 2 big windows here towards the city, towards the south, here towards the river. So these big spaces go ahead. And here, in order to be more open to the light, the building is like small towers, going the presence of the outside and the light and so on. This is. I start by the intervention in the infrastructure. In the infrastructure we have done is changing the entrance. So first we separe the 2 bands. We separe the 2 bands of the road. It was like that, continuous. We separe in order to introduce a garden into the middle and a light after that. This is one decision. And after, from here to there, we transform this into a kind of bridge, in a way, so with no walls. So from here you can cross from one side to the other, and it's appearing like a square, a protected space, a public space in relationship to connecting also the 2 sides of the bridge. And this is the main intervention, is something like that. Something like that. This kind of bridge is not a bridge, it's like a normal floor. It's full of pillars. It's like an hypothetical hall. So it's because it's unnecessary we don't cross a river. No? So it's really like a room, like a space, like a more domestic space with pillars every 10 meters or something like that. No? With all the possibilities moving from one side to the other. There was something. Imagine something like that first, like a changing that in the competition. After we had something very important. That was this is a project made by the landscaper Michel de Vigne, and the other important thing is the big quantity of plants. So it's going to be like a forest. So in parallel, it's going to be like in a kind of delirious way, having hundreds of big trees. In fact, they have been looking for how to. So it's an enormous quantity of pines or big trees, and also a medium-sized or not very low scale of plants here nearby the earth. So from the outside, it's going to be like a garden, so only a garden, and here you see the works basically like that. So this is ending by here, opening all the pillars, and appearing a very nice space under the traffic. No, that is going to. Sorry. So based on this is the way that's opening the two bands of the traffic, allows us to have some green and air and light into the center of the space. This is somehow it was a little bit out. The concrete thing is very rustic, so the building is just appearing with more horizontal. The corner here, nearby the traffic moment. This is the entrance of the. This is one of the windows towards the center. Another vision from that. This is again that. In the middle of the space is this kind of a small building with housing. These houses, they have a corridor and a terrace and a court inside. This is this apartment has a big terrace oriented south, with there are like bands with the terrace. Here they are smaller, but they are both sides, and having a big terrace, and from these halls you have light into. For instance, you have the facade, and the facade has all these kind of things in between. Now it is something like that. It's also color like earth. I mean, even being having a certain color in the center of the thing. The idea was having this, and the idea is going to be with a garden with trees and so on. This is the building is there, and after is the window towards the river. Is what it is now. And after the river, this is the opening towards the river. From the other side of this center building is only windows with a small garden here. So here you see again the houses and the terraces, and the thing is also ending with a big window, an enormous window towards south. This is also finished because this part, by strange reasons, is almost finished. Here is going to be a garden with a fence, a green fence, and also here is it's going to be trees and a big garden. And here this space is curtain between both. From the outside, the presence of the big mega windows appear. And after that, and this is also nice, I like this image, because after the concrete, and this is something that is happening now, that is the concrete appear many layers of things. So this is the insulation, a kind of supporting, another kind of, partially are going to be finished in zinc, partially are going to have several materials. So you have all the texture of the activities that are going to happen after that, and at the end, they're going to give the expression in one sheet. Because what I'm trying to say is the surface is connected to the depth. So the surface is not only the things what we see, but you must think on the project in section, I mean, with the depth of the thing. No? So in the construction is here, the whole thing, you see all the sequence of layers that appear is going to give finally the form of the building. And this is there are my pictures. Okay, thank you.